Coming up on News Channel 8, a tribute to Whitney Houston one day after her tragic death.
Plus, the trial of George Hughley is entering its second week, and prosecutors could be close to wrapping things up.
And President Obama will unveil his 2013 budget proposal to reduce the deficit by $4 trillion. We have a live report. The news starts right now.
Non-stop local news for Maryland, Virginia, and Washington, D.C. This is News Channel 8.
And good morning and welcome to News Channel 8. It's 8 o'clock. If you see the sun coming through the window, don't let it fool you. It is freezing.
I know. It's so true. It looks bright and sunny, but
yes,
yeah, not to be. Brian, where are our temperatures this morning?
Well, they're in the teens and 20s early on from this morning. Now they're starting to work their way back up. A shot from some of our cameras shows a really nice stretch. Fairfax right now, over in the city of Fairfax. Sunshine over there with just a little bit of a glare on the lens. Our friends at St. Leo the Great, thanks for that great cam. And then off to the west of Frostburg, where they do have a little bit of a coating of snow on the ground, but crystal clear out there. So from east to west, we've got good sunshine all across the area, and temperatures finally climbing through the 20s. Excuse the error, I'm in design mode and it locked up, so I'm rebooting right now. But mid-40s today with sunshine, some clouds tomorrow with a passing snow shower or sprinkle. Not a big deal, we'll be above freezing. Better chance for any snow would be off to the west, but we could still see a passing flurry or snow shower. Then clearing for Wednesday, looking good. Thursday, some moisture rolls back in near 50, and then clearing Friday, 52 in sunshine, upper 40s to near 50 for Saturday and Sunday. That's peek at the weather. Let's hop over to the roads now with Jamie.
All right, Brian, we just have problems that have popped up on the Beltway. Maryland, I want to begin with you, but I put Maryland and Virginia both on the map. Interloop, southbound Maryland as you pass 50, the John Hanson Highway, approaching Route 4, Pennsylvania Avenue, cars flipped over. Crews are responding to the scene of the crash. Again, Interloop, south of 50, the John Hanson Highway, near Pennsylvania Avenue with the overturned car. Now, let's take you into Virginia, opposite side, and in that direction, it's the outer loop, south of 66, and heading down towards Springfield. Outer loop between 236 and Braddock Road. You lose a couple lanes with the crash there. Now we're over at the inbound 14th Street Bridge. Looks like a gorgeous morning. It's chilly, but the good news about 395, our lanes are open. Sluggish still between Edsel Road and King Street. And now, as you pass the Pentagon to and across the 14th Street Bridge, DDOT not working any problems inside the belt, or after you cross the 14th Street Bridge on the Southeast Southwest Freeway and in town. That was looking good. Just the volume 295 toward the 11th Street Bridge. And now let's get back to the news desk with Catherine and Melanie.
Bitter sweet memories.
And we begin with a toned-down celebration for music's biggest night last night, just one day after the sudden death of superstar and icon Whitney Houston.
One of her biggest admirers paid tribute during last night's Grammys. Jennifer Hudson fought back tears while singing one of Houston's hits, I Will Always Love You. Other stars shared their thoughts about Houston all throughout the show.
Comes as many questions still remain about how she died. Jumia Labanji has the latest.
The Los Angeles coroner says it could be weeks before they determine what exactly killed Whitney Houston. But last night, her life was celebrated in Los Angeles at the Grammys, here locally and around the world. Whitney Houston came to the district a number of times throughout the year. She was last here back in 2010 when she received an award from BET at the Warner Theater. There is no word yet on funeral or memorial plans. In the newsroom, Jumia Labanji, News Channel 8.
Our other top story this morning, prosecutors could wrap up their case as soon as today in the trial of George Hughley. The former University of Virginia lacrosse player is accused of killing former girlfriend Yardley Love at her Charlottesville apartment in May of 2010. Prosecutors are expected to bring up DNA evidence this week and also discuss a beer can and blood found in Love's apartment after her body was discovered. A suburban hospital employee convicted of stabbing his supervisor to death will learn his fate today. Keith Little faces life without parole when he's sentenced in a Montgomery County court. Little confessed to stabbing Roosevelt Brockington 70 times on New Year's Day last year. Police say Little was upset that Brockington refused to give him a raise.
Funeral plans are now set for the Alexandria paramedic who died in the line of duty last week. 33-year-old Joshua Wiseman died after falling off of a bridge on I-395 Thursday. He was responding to a car fire when it happened. A visitation will be held at the Everly Wheatley Funeral Home in Alexandria Wednesday evening. Wiseman's funeral will be at 1 p.m. Thursday at the Bethel Hebrew congregation in Alexandria. President Obama is bracing for another money fight as he gets ready to unveil his 2013 budget plan.
He'll debut the spending plan today during a stop in Annandale, and that's where Brianne Carter is live with a preview and why this could be a really big step for D.C. Good morning, Bree.
Good morning to you, Catherine. People are starting to arrive here at the Northern Virginia Community College campus in Annandale ahead of the president's speech scheduled for 11 o'clock this morning. He's expected to lay out his proposed 2013 budget plans, and among that, it aims to reduce the deficit over the next 10 years, a reduction of $4 trillion. Now, this is all going to be talking about, as we know, reining in government spending, as well as that tax increase on the wealthy that so many on the Hill have been talking about over the past few weeks. But the president is also expected to talk about community colleges here. Obviously, that is the backdrop for today's speech. We understand that he's going to talk about a boost in spending for education and transportation, and also a partnership he would like to see created under this budget proposal between businesses and community colleges. Now, all of this, again, is expected to get underway about 11 o'clock this morning. Now, with these items on the table, it is expected that this will just be the beginning of a back and forth battle that a number of Republicans have already called this proposal just a repeat of failed policies put forward by the Obama administration. A lot of people out here, though, waiting to see exactly what he has to say. Some analysts calling this just the beginning of a budget battle ahead of the election season as well. As we know, we're already underway with that for the GOP candidates as well. So this likely to be just the beginning of a battle over the budget and finances that is still to come. Again, the president expected to speak at 11 o'clock this morning. Back to you guys.
All right, we'll wait to hear more. Thanks so much, Brianne Carter, live in Annandale this morning.
Heading around the region now, same-sex marriage takes center stage again in Annapolis. Supporters will rally at the Capitol while lawmakers debate two competing bills on the issue. One would make same-sex unions legal. The other would do just the opposite, create a constitutional amendment defining marriage as only between a man and a woman.
Track work could lead to delays for Metro riders this week. Trains will be single tracking on parts of the red, green, blue, and orange lines. Metro says the work will be done between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and also after the evening rush. Customers should add between 15 and 25 minutes to their trips. Well, the mission to Mars could be in jeopardy.
Why NASA could be cutting parts of the program.
Plus, investigators search for answers after a father kills his two sons and himself. What they're hoping to find still ahead here on News Channel 8. It's 9 after 8.
I'm Morris Jones with tonight's top stories. Police are on the hunt for the gunman who shot and killed a man in his home, and they believe it's his son. Preparing for the big heat up with scorching temperatures heading our way. And a debt plan passes in the House, but a different deal may be closer to becoming reality. The news starts right now.
You're watching News Channel 8 with Morris Jones.
Good evening, everybody, and thanks for joining us. We start tonight with the search for a gunman. Fairfax County Police believe a son shot his father. The victim was found inside a home on the 7600 block of Chancellor Way. John Gonzalez is standing by in Springfield with the latest on the investigation. John?
Well, more, 75-year-old Gary Hansen has lived in this home with his wife and two sons since the early 80s. Tonight, sources tell us that is the man who was shot and killed. It appears inside his garage. And tonight, police have a lookout for one of Hansen's sons. A dramatic scene this Fairfax County neighborhood won't soon forget. Some emotionally moved after finding out their neighbor and friend was gunned down.
I saw 4 armed officers with shotguns come across my front lawn.
Residents in this West Springfield neighborhood knew something was terribly wrong this evening when they saw police officers walking around with high-powered rifles.
And they said to please go inside your house and lock your doors.
Sources tell us tonight those heavily armed police officers are still looking for a man tonight they believe has something to do with the shooting death of his own father inside the home.
We're looking out the window, close the garage, lock the door just in case somebody was trying to get into a place to hide.
Detectives spent hours gathering clues inside the colonial-style single-family home, nestled in a densely wooded area. Part of the reason some neighbors were very concerned to hear a dangerous armed man is on the loose tonight.
They were telling everybody to get off the street. One guy had his 9mm out and ready.
Neighbors tell us the Hansons, who have lived here with 2 grown sons for decades, are extremely loving. The father, who was found dead just after 6 o'clock, suffered a stroke a few years back. Friends can't think of a reason why someone would want to harm this gentle 75-year-old man.
Help clear their driveways during the winter storms and things like that. Nice, quiet, kind folks. We didn't, this is kind of a shock to see this.
Now, Morris, detectives have spent hours inside the home interviewing relatives. Now they are also looking for one of the family cars. We understand it is a gray Saturn 4-door sedan with Virginia tags. Morris?
John, from what you've heard from the neighbors, I assume they didn't hear any gunfire in the area.
No gunfire. It appears that it happened inside the home. Again, it appears inside the garage, but many of the relatives quickly saw the police arrive, and again, a very jarring scene here, to say the least. Police officers with high-powered rifles walking through the neighborhood.
All right, thank you, John, for the latest. Moving on to the weather, the heat is on, with triple-digit temperatures making their way into the region. Meteorologist Devin Lucy joins us now with just how hot it's going to get. Devin?
I think you just said it right there. At least triple-digit high temperatures headed our way. But you have to factor in extremely high humidity. I don't think as high as what went on in Minnesota today. Dew points we talk about all the time right here on News Channel 8. The dew point is a measure of how much invisible water is in the air, the water vapor. When the dew point temperature gets above 65, it starts to feel pretty humid. 70, really humid. Dew points there, 80s today. The states of Iowa and Illinois are both under the entire state's an excessive heat warning. All this heat headed our way. Forecast here from the Mr. Basement Weather Center. 80s overnight, 70s for morning low temperatures, cool temperatures. Back to the mid-90s by the afternoon on Wednesday. Slightest chance of a storm, but it's all about this heat. Let you know exactly how hot with the heat index and when it's all going to finally come to an end with our complete forecast in just a few minutes, Morris.
All right, thank you, Devin. The arrest of a Pakistani man is creating further tensions between the U.S. and Pakistan. Court documents released today say 62-year-old Saeed Fai has headed a nonprofit group in D.C. that received millions of dollars from a Pakistani spy agency in order to influence American lawmakers. The Pakistani embassy says Fai is not a Pakistani citizen, and the country's government and embassy have no knowledge of the case involving him. Fai is facing charges of acting as an agent of Pakistan. A second man, Zahir Ahmad, is also facing charges but is still at large. Several people went to the hospital after a huge branch snapped off of a tree and fell on a group from a church summer camp. It happened this afternoon at Garfield Park on 3rd Street in Southeast. 5 people were injured, including a 17-year-old boy who was knocked out. 3 children, all under 9, were also hurt. Authorities say the tree was between 70 and 80 years old. A Dale City man is defending his decision to shoot at a neighbor's dog. He claims it's killing cats in the area.
I said, it's got to end right now. Again, it didn't have a collar or leash. I looked out the window and he sent it over to my car after a cat and the kittens were under there.
Paul Ovalette says although he planned to shoot the pit bull if it came out with the kitten, he didn't fire until the dog came at him. Neighbors say the dog is often off its leash. Ovalette is now facing charges of reckless handling of a firearm. The House has passed the Cut, Cap, and Balance plan, a measure that has no chance of passing in the Senate. The legislation will increase the nation's borrowing cap while immediately cutting spending and making a constitutional amendment that would require a balanced budget. Meanwhile, a bipartisan group of senators came up with a different plan. It would make up about $3.7 trillion over the next 10 years. While President Obama publicly praised that plan, he said the agreement doesn't mean it will make it through the House or Senate.
I think what you're going to be seeing is an evaluation of that plan versus the things that we've been looking at. I think what you're going to see is some significant overlap. There's going to have to be a broader agreement on the part of all the leadership that we're going to get this done in a serious way, and we've got a tight deadline to do it.
If Congress and the White House can't come to an agreement by August 2nd, the U.S. could default on its loans. The effect of that failure would be felt nationwide, but especially in Virginia and Maryland. The states are among 5 placed on a watch list by Moody's Investors Service today. Haley Harrison joins us in the Satellite Center with more on what default could mean for this region. Haley?
Well, Morris, the economists and lawmakers that I've talked to about this tonight say that a lower bond rating would mean a lower quality of living for people in both states. They say a AAA bond rating has been absolutely essential to how Maryland and Virginia do business.
On news, Moody's placed 5 states' bond ratings on review. Virginia Governor Bob McDonnell says he's
very unhappy. In fact, we're furious.
McDonnell made the statement while announcing a $311 million state budget surplus. The governor says Virginia has maintained its AAA bond rating since 1938. But Moody's says it would likely downgrade the bond ratings of 5 states, including Virginia and Maryland, if the U.S. fails to raise the debt ceiling.
It's a national embarrassment for the United States of America to be getting 2 weeks from the defaulting on its obligations.
State Senator Dick Sosloff sits on Virginia's Senate Finance Committee.
It's a big mistake, and it's a warning we ought to heed, but the people who should be heeding this are the Republicans in the U.S. Congress.
Economists say a lower bond rating means higher interest rates, discouraging governments from doing things like building new roads and schools.
It means that you're going to pay a lot more in interest costs to perform projects or to do any projects in the future.
Maryland was also placed on the review list despite having its bond rating reaffirmed by Moody's and 2 other ratings agencies Thursday. In a statement, a spokeswoman for Governor Martin O'Malley says we continue to remain focused on creating and saving jobs, and we hope that Congress will come together to do the same.
Maryland and Virginia are joined by New Mexico, South Carolina, and Tennessee on this bond rating review list. Governor McDonnell today calls the review a source of great alarm. Morris?
Haley, it's a fascinating story. Why did Moody's single out these 5 states?
It's because these states have a very high number of federal employees living in those states, and they also rely more heavily on federal loans. So if the U.S. is unable to borrow money from failure to raise that debt ceiling, you can just imagine, Morris, the huge impact that that would have on the nearly 1 million federal workers and federal contractors living in the D.C. metro region. I also want to add, though, that D.C. wasn't on this list because it already has a lower bond rating.
Oh, that's interesting. All right. Thanks, Haley. Well, the president will be in College Park later this week for a town hall meeting. Mr. Obama will be speaking at the University of Maryland's Ritchie Coliseum on Friday. There will be a limited number of general admission tickets available through the school. The topic of the town hall is still being decided. Drivers taking Route 29 will see a new traffic pattern tomorrow. It's part of the Intercounty Connector project. Southbound traffic will be routed onto a new ramp to access both directions of Fairland Road before hitting the construction of a segment of the ICC. The ramp is about 1/3 of a mile before the existing intersection. There will be a flashing beacon to help direct traffic. Pepco wants to trim your trees without asking you first, and many residents are saying, not in my yard. Plus, a woman says because of a pushy police officer, what should have been free towing is costing her hundreds of dollars.